Welcome to the Byja radio show. I'm your host, Dr. Byron Jasper, and we are recording live from J. Kinba Executive Suites in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, with special production by Becnel Media. And we are officially back in the saddle like we never left. Episode 23 with 2 3s. I think it's poetic, man. So
in season 3.
In season 3. What? So that's 3 threes.
That's right? A lot of threes.
A lot of threes. I love it.
It's the best number on the line.
So welcome back to our amazing radio show, the Byja radio show. I'm your host, Dr. Byron Jasper, and I'm sitting in the pilot seat with an amazing co-pilot, the one and only magnificent patient zero brother, George Becnel. Man, it's been a month of Sundays since I was able to sit in the seat with you, man. Just want to say, how you doing? How you been?
Hey, man, I'm just melanated and educated, brother. I can't complain about too much. How you doing, bro?
I think you making more T-shirt lines by the minute. Like, I think that is I don't know if you saw that or you just made that up, but either way, I think it was great.
I got to be real. I have that on 2 T-shirts. One in black and gold. And one in blue and gold for Southern.
I should have seen it. I like it.
It's like 2 of my favorite T-shirts. I bought that Essence Fest because every time I go to Essence Festival, I have to come with like some T-shirts.
Right.
So like I got a T-shirt with like Richard Pryor on it.
You don't have to tell me. You know I was there, and you always buy something. I was there with you most recently with your purchase.
You was there when I bought the Richard Pryor one?
No, I was there when you bought your hat.
Yeah, I wasn't gonna say about hat. I knew you was there with the hat.
That's what I was wondering.
I knew you was there with the hat. The hat was fly.
It is a nice hat.
Yeah, shout out to Adorn Hair Wear. You know, that's your free commercial. You get one.
Yeah.
But you know, so I always enjoy going to Essence and looking at the vendors. So like my Richard Pryor T-shirt is a favorite. My Educated and Melanated, you know, T-shirt is another one. And then I got a Malcolm X T-shirt too. So you know, always looking for the vendors and having a good time with that.
There we go. Yeah.
But anyway, brother, how are you, man?
Man, I'm doing great, and I'm happy that we are back for season 3. As we always like to highlight to all the people who possibly are haters, we have not been canceled.
Absolutely.
We took a break because, you know, sometimes you got to hit the reset button, refresh that memory and that mindset of, you know, coming back with the heat. So, you know, we want season 3 to be bigger and better than the last 2. But we have momentum as usual. I've had people asking when is the next season coming out. So I say, well, I guess we need to get back in the studio and get it going. So with that, we are going to jump into our first segment. Our hope is to slowly but surely put things together where people can come to us as a resource, and hopefully that will allow them to be educated when they leave, and hopefully with that education they can get other people to come into the health space and be healthier and a little more focused. So George, what do you think one of the main topics we should possibly talk about based on, I don't know, what's going on in the world today, maybe what's going on in America? There's a lot of health related topics.
I'm about to say there's a lot of non-health related topics we talk about too.
We go veer away from that.
We can keep it
health-wise. Let's focus health-wise. So what health topics may stand out to you that you say, man, I saw these and I think, you know, that was something that I didn't either know a lot about, or it is something that I did see and it kind of caught me by surprise.
Bro, so what's wild to me is like measles is coming back like Jordan after baseball. Like I don't understand. Like you know, when we were kids, you know, a little kid come to school, be like, hey man, I got the measles, you know, and you stay away from the little kid. Yeah. And all of a sudden you don't see him for 2 weeks, and then he comes back to school. Like that's what the experience was. But like honestly, I haven't heard of the measles since I was in like 4th grade.
Correct.
So now all of a sudden, like there's measles cases popping up in Texas and things of that nature, and I'm just kind of like, how is this even possible? Like are people not getting shots no more, or is it something in some new materials and some new clothes that's causing like what is it that with the measles? I don't understand.
Well, I think you are you know, clairvoyant or something to the effect of reading my mind, because that was one of the first ones that stood out to me. And there are other topics, of course,
like,
but
where
that
does
one
it come
stood out
from?
because, of course, I get those calls and those questions all the time from different people from a patient standpoint of, I feel sick and I don't know what it is. but they oftentimes will give me symptoms, and being the doctor, I have to either say, oh yeah, that makes sense, no, that doesn't, what about this, what about that, and ask questions in a way to get to the answer, right? Beautiful part about medicine is almost like solving a puzzle, right? Or solving a riddle. So one of the things that you said, measles, spot on. It was one of those things of, in my top 5 things that I'm looking at on the news that I'm just like, oh, that's interesting from a health standpoint, is measles is back.
Yeah.
Like, it's not something new. It's not something that's, for the most part, mutated, and it's something, completely different. It's like the variant of no, this is just straight up measles.
Yeah, and
right?
I'm just like, how?
It's not measles 2.0, right? It's not measles the return.
Measles the remix.
Exactly. That's what I said. So
I'm about to say, I thought remixes died when R. Kelly went to jail.
No.
So
I hate you right now. And at this point, I think the overall thing that we're getting to is that it is something that's resurging across the country, and not just in the space of it's in essence only a select group, a select population. So as of March 2025, when we're recording this episode, 222 confirmed cases in the United States. In 2025, 222 cases confirmed in the United States. I want to give you a opportunity to guess possibly how many cases were there in 2023 in terms of, hey, we got 222 in 2025. How many would you think there would have been in 2023?
I don't know, 4.
Okay. No, if it was 4, that would be impressive. It was 58 cases. 58 cases. So I'm not good at math, but last I checked, 50 to 200 is about quadruple.
Yeah.
So we have quadrupled in 12 months. I'm sorry, I said that backwards. We've quadrupled in 3 months what we had in a 12-month period in 2023.
That's crazy.
That's quite impressive to do.
So
it's hard to literally fathom how quickly that has happened. And again, if you said, in 2025 as a whole, we had this many, you could say, well, look, stuff might have changed. This is only 3 months.
Right.
Right? We haven't gotten to month 4, 5, 6, or 7, but we're already 4 times more contagious.
In how many months?
In 3. I like it. I see what you did there. So based off of that, people don't realize a lot about measles. So we'll talk a little bit about it.
So how do you even get it?
So glad you asked. So measles is extremely contagious. And that's the thing a lot of people don't realize. People think that it's like, in essence, a cold where, hey, you might get it, you might not. No, if you don't have certain things in place, it is contagious to where it will pass and pass quickly from person to person. Okay? So one person can infect up to 18 other people.
But how?
Well,
like shaking a hand, give them a hug, drinking after people.
Absolutely. So all of those things, right? So respiratory, contact, being in close proximity.
So just breathing around people.
It can pass in that way. Yes, it can. So measles, and we'll be very specific, measles has a lot of things that it can do. But symptom-wise, common things, high fever, meaning, 103, 104. Of course, coughing, runny nose. And then people tend to have what? Rash, right? That's the part most people
remember. That's the part people see.
They'll see the rash. They'll know something's going on. Person's coughing, having runny nose, having high fever. And that's kind of, again, why people will easily get infected, right? Because you're having all these things that are putting things out into the world. You're putting things out into the world that you're going to have a higher likelihood of infecting people.
So a question. It just from based on what you said, it seemed like the rash comes at the end. So in essence, are you technically, obviously you're sick before the rash, but are you contagious before the rash comes in? And like, is there a possibility that you don't even know you have it and you could be infecting people?
Yeah, it is very possible, right? The main way that a lot of people get is, again, it's in the air, right? So a person's coughing and breathing, and it literally comes out in a cough or a sneeze. And at that point, it'll be in the air and on surfaces that a person's coughed, sneezed, touched for up to 2 hours, right? So you literally are at a table having food, but somebody came 2 hours prior to that, sat at that table. They've been gone for an hour and a half. That contagion is still there. And if it's still there, you can easily get it. And that's why people are surprised of, well, I didn't know it was that contagious. Yeah, because some people think that, well, the only way I can get it is if I'm directly in contact with somebody and I'm sitting next to them and shaking their hand and high-fiving. Yeah, you can get it like that, of course. but it is extremely contagious where it lives in the air and on surfaces hours after a person has gone and left and went elsewhere. And that's something that's extremely important. So that's something people don't understand. To answer another part of your question, as far as the contagion part goes, you can be contagious 4 days before the rash appears. Wow. And 4 days after it's gone.
Wow.
Okay. So again, it's not just, well, the person has a rash, I'm going to stay away from them. Well, before it even comes, they're already passing and spreading and having that viral load being so high that it's starting to spread. Then 4 days the rash is gone, they're healing up, but they're still contagious. And again, this is something that's being passed because people are oftentimes not getting to the other part, which we'll talk about briefly, but it's giving you the idea that with the high fever, the sneezing, the runny nose, the rash itself, of course, being on surfaces, being in the air, all of that, it's hard to get rid of this once it started. It's not like you can just say, well, look, we're just going to do this and it's going to stop. We're going to wipe the table down and it's going to go away. But you also don't know if a person's infected until it's either really bad. And 4 days before that, you wouldn't even remember the person was sick. They wouldn't remember who they talked to 4 days ago. Some people don't even remember who they talked to 4 hours ago.
Facts.
So how are they going to remember who they contacted 4 days ago? So it becomes really tricky for a lot of people because they don't know all of the signs and symptoms. They don't understand how things can be. But what they end up doing is saying, well, we're just going to do the simple stuff. I'm going to wear a mask. I'm going to wash my hands and all that. But this one is a little bit different. It takes a lot more work to get rid of a measles outbreak than it would other stuff, if that makes sense.
Well, it has
and then, of course, serious complications can happen, which one thing, unfortunately, we've seen is that people will pass away from measles because measles in a very severe case can eliminate the respiratory system to a way where a person has a real hard time breathing. And all of a sudden that respiratory drive is so suppressed that they in essence can't breathe anymore and they pass away. And that's actually unfortunately happened where we've had children pass away from a measles outbreak.
But that's sad, yeah.
It's really sad, right? And it's really sad mostly because the one word that I'm going to focus on is it's preventable.
Right.
Right? It's not as if we cannot prevent this in some way, shape, or form. It's not as if this is something that cannot be eliminated to a very high extent. What it is that people tend to think, well, I don't have to do certain things and it's not going to affect me. And then when it does, it's we shoulda, coulda, woulda. And that's the part that's really crazy. So all of that being said, my hope for our first segment of season 3 is that people will take a moment and say, well, am I doing what I need to do to make sure I'm healthy? Of course. But then am I doing things that I need to do to make sure that I'm not, in essence, spreading something and doing something that could make other people sick around me? If you are, please consider changing the way you're moving. But if you aren't sure, it's getting into care so you can learn some of the things that we're talking about. Because, of course, in our episode, people hopefully are learning, right? But if you don't have the ability to sit here and listen to this episode, well, having a situation where you're in care with somebody, like some people in the direct primary care space, you're going to have the opportunity to talk to us and have the conversations with us in a way that allows you to learn about measles, learn about the outbreaks, learn about things that will help, and learn about things that can help to prevent it. And George, I'm sure you already know the answer, but I'm going to ask anyway, what is the main way that we recommend measles be prevented?
Well, is one word that I was thinking the whole time you were talking, and that's vaccinations.
Absolutely.
So that brings up several questions in my mind because, I've had my MMR, measles, mumps, rubella vaccines. Pretty sure it was in the 90s. I had a flat top when I got those vaccines. Right, that's how long ago it's been. Right.
Absolutely.
So number one, my question is, how long do those vaccines last? Like, since I'm knocking on 40, does that put me at risk? Since I had the shot 30 years ago, or am I still covered with that shot? Like, what's the deal?
And that's a great question. So it is a hard thing to answer in a blanket statement, right? Some vaccines last longer than others, meaning some may last 20, 30, 40 years. From an immunity standpoint is the word we're looking for. Some may be a lot shorter, so you need a booster. So most MMR vaccines, measles, mumps, rubella, will be a 20, 30, 40, 50 year kind of thing, right? Everybody's different, right? If your immune system is really weak, you may need a booster sooner than someone else who has a, for lack of a better term, strong immune system. But usually you can say people who have MMRs are going to probably not need as many boosters than a person who is talking about a different vaccine. So your MMR vaccine, what we tend to do when that happens is if a person isn't sure if they need a booster, what we can do is do what we call titers. Titers, T-I-T-E-R-S. Titers are basically checking your levels to see if you still have immunity to a potential virus or bacteria, depending on the vaccine. And if there is an opportunity to check a titer to show your immunity is still present, you don't need a booster. And that's obviously if you got a vaccine. The other side is to get vaccinated, right? And it's not necessarily saying everybody should get vaccinated. It's not saying that everybody needs to run and go get vaccinated at this moment without finding out if it's appropriate for you and appropriate for people in your family or appropriate for people you're going to potentially care for. But what it is a lot of people start to go down the rabbit hole of I'm going to listen to what I see in certain places and not do their own research. If you're doing your own research and you feel pretty strongly and confident that you don't want to do it, I'm not going to sit here and spend time arguing and trying to get you to do stuff in a way that you feel some kind of way about doing. Hopefully people would do that when it comes to stuff that others don't feel like doing. But what I think what happens for a lot of people is that they don't really do research. They watch something, they hear something, they look at something, and at that point they just run with it. And they're running with it because they don't want to do the research. They don't want to sit down with someone and have a detailed conversation. They don't want to learn how vaccines work or how they're studied, how they're researched. They just really and truthfully go to, I don't want to put stuff in my body, or I don't trust this and that and other, and then turn around and go do the exact same thing about something they know absolutely nothing about. They don't learn and research, so they do it in one area but not in another.
Bro, I just don't understand people. I think I'm kind of annoyed with this smart dumb era that we're in. And what I mean by that is everybody thinks they're an expert, kind of like what you said, because they Googled something or they saw a question on a news segment or what have you, and they feel like they're just going to ignore they're going to ignore the clinical advice of people who've been practicing medicine for 20, 30 years, people who went to med school. I just don't understand that. And look, I'm not trying to throw shade at anti-vaxxers. That's not what I'm doing. However, it's just, I don't understand. Like, what do you think? Like, some of these people, they don't trust the government, and I get that too. But you think just the whole America has been getting vaccines for years and years and decades. And, you just was like, well, this is not good enough for me and my child. But everybody else seems to be thriving and living good. I just don't understand that thought process. And I hate to see it happen to people because like what we just went through as a world and just really getting out of it with COVID, where people were refusing to get vaccinated, people were dying. I just don't understand that thought process or that trade-off. I'd rather take my chances with the vaccine than without it. But that's just me.
Yeah, and again, that's why I mentioned earlier, if a person feels really strongly that they don't want to do something, far be it from me to try to force somebody to do something they want to do. My biggest thing is get the information and make your own decision. The problem I run into more than people not doing it is that they don't want to even have a conversation and try to learn about it. And that's where I think we have a lot of struggle within our country for sure. People think what they think and don't want to engage in dialogue to something to the contrary to say, well, let me learn why this person is apprehensive. They may be apprehensive for good reason. They may feel some kind of way about a experience that makes them reluctant to do something, and that's okay. But if that person is automatically dismissed because you don't want to hear what they have to say, then that's fine. Now, the trade-off is when a person comes and says what they say, and you are going to be willing to sit down, listen, and talk with them and have a discussion, a dialogue. Don't dismiss them, but in exchange, that person hopefully will not dismiss you when you're able to hopefully point to them why something does or doesn't make sense. The issue we run into, I think, when it comes to the people who are mostly anti-vaccine is that the science and the data that we are often looking at is not something people really want to look at. They oftentimes want to find something that makes their point when a lot of stuff is not really and truthfully accurate. The paperwork, the data, the research that we've seen that has shown that a lot of the vaccines that are out there, especially measles, whether it's COVID, which again, COVID is new, people are really reluctant on COVID. So not saying that, but measles, which is really well documented, studied, and everything else. There is study after study, data after data that has been put out that shows the safety and efficacy of these types of things, vaccines specifically, measles being one of them. Yet people will still say it's not safe because of all these other things. And then when you remove the vaccine, you remove the ability to potentially give somebody the preventative treatment that will allow them to avoid the illness. The alternative is one, they get sick from that illness, right? Mm-hmm. Which, so be it, that's the way it is. The other alternative is then the thing they were arguing against. Hey, the vaccine causes this. That's why we don't want to do it. That person still develops it. They don't say, well, I could have been wrong about that whole vaccine. It's, well, they're not related at all. So it's basically, I'm going to make an argument in favor of something. And then when you come out and realize that your argument is debunked, it's, well, I'm just going to pivot and make it make sense some kind of way. It's one of those things, well, if I say 1 + 1 is 2, and all of a sudden you come out and say, no, it's 1 + 1 is 3, and then we prove it's 2, it's like, well, I don't really believe it. No, it's like at the end of the day, you're arguing with someone who's never going to actually see why they should do something, why they shouldn't. So that's why I say it's, for me, I try to really and truthfully in my exam room, sit down and say, let's have a conversation. My goal is not to make you do anything. My goal is to present you with the information so you can make your own decision. As long as we can have an open discussion on the details and you feel comfortable making your decision, I'm fine with it. But I don't want you to come and tell me all the stuff that you know and how everything I'm telling you is wrong and everything you know is right. And at this point, you're basically trying to convince me of your point, but you're not willing to listen to mine. Because I can listen to yours and you can listen to mine and we can agree to disagree. But most people don't want to do that when we come into this space when we're talking about vaccines. It's not because we have to agree on everything. I completely agree that we can disagree. Mm-hmm. But I wanted it to be where your agreement your disagreement and my disagreement come because we both have really sat down and had a conversation that's honest and open. It's not, I'm automatically going to tell you why you're wrong. And unless you agree with me, we don't need to have a conversation. I'm not going to do that. I want to hear why you're telling me what you're telling me. And if you're going to point to all of the quote unquote things you know, and I can prove that they're incorrect, just like you can prove mine is incorrect, let's do it. And most people don't do that. As you just said, people are experts, but have no idea where they're getting their information from.
Well, I think what you're describing is a result of a bigger issue. You know, I think we're in a society where things are based on how people feel more so than on facts. Mm-hmm. You know, I've never seen us as a society ignore science, ignore facts, ignore history, ignore all the data like we do now, and we appeal to what people feel. It's just baffling. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now I could get on my soapbox and go really, really left on that on a lot of different topics, but I'll just chill on that. But I just think that's a huge problem that we got right now.
Absolutely. And we'll close out this part of the segment by just saying, if it is something that you have concern about, speak with the healthcare professional. Healthcare professional being the operative words. Why? Because what tends to happen is we're on social media following random people that have no medical training, but yet they're giving medical advice. It's no different than me, again, saying, I have no legal training, but I'm telling you how to, in essence, do court cases.
Yeah.
At some point, I think you might say, this person probably is not the best person to get information from. Yet, that's pretty much who we get information from. Right. We're listening to celebrities and people who are potentially paid to make certain statements, and that's who we're running with the data from, right?
Yeah.
And I've had people literally call and talk to me and give me some sense of what I'm telling is not accurate. And it's not because they can tell me why it's not accurate. It's, as you said, they feel some kind of way. And the feeling they have is not necessarily that what I'm saying is inaccurate. It's just they feel so strongly about what they feel that it just turns into, well, why are we even having a discussion? And I'll put it like this. I've had people come to me in my exam room, give me money, listen to me on everything, ignore me on something, and then come to me and say, well, I want you to do A, B, and C. And when I say, well, I'm not going to do that because it's going to be a harmful thing, they get upset because I'm trying to protect them from themselves. And at this point, it's like, so you want me to give you something that's going to hurt you when I know it's going to hurt you, and then you want me to jeopardize my livelihood by you getting hurt to prove a point? Like, it doesn't make sense. And we're not going to do that.
Stupid.
We're not going to do that. So
they don't understand what you do. You don't get paid to do what people tell you to do.
Correct.
You get paid for your medical expertise that you went to college and did residency and all these things to acquire.
Yeah.
Because, I'm not, you ask me what I think about a sprained ankle. I might tell you go put cocoa butter on it. I don't know. You know what I mean? But
yeah,
if you just want to hear what you want to hear,
yeah,
ask a random person. But if you go to a doctor that actually knows what they're talking about.
Yeah. And that's the part that's surprising, because you don't want to listen to us when you feel nice and healthy and everything's great. But then when you're potentially miserable on death's door, then you call and say, help. And it's like, why didn't you want to listen to us before you got sick?
Well, they don't want to listen to you when they are sick. Technically, you have the power of the script. You can write a prescription, so they feel like they can just call you and say, hey.
Yeah, and that's the part that's funny. I've had people say, I don't want to get a vaccine, but I want you to write me an antibiotic, even though they may not need it, which is the polar opposite, right? I know when I need an antibiotic, which they don't, but I also know when I don't need it. And it's like, what are we doing? If you don't trust me enough to know that I'm going to give you sound medical advice, then why are you coming to see me? That's the real question. And if you don't want to see me, that's fine. There are plenty of people you can go to that are going to tell you what you want to hear, give you what you want to actually take and receive. You get worse. And then at the end of the day, when you're sick, kidneys failing, everything else, you're looking around and saying, well, why didn't this work? There's story after story I've seen and had people literally send to me, of people saying, this person didn't want to get mammograms. This person didn't want to get pap smears. This person didn't want to do all this stuff, colonoscopies. They have cancer 4 or 5 years later, and they're then on the actual platform talking about, you should do the opposite of what I did. But nobody seems to see that story. They only see the one that they want to see, that confirms what they feel and that misconception that someone fed to them a while ago. And again, my point is, if you feel that way, just confirm what you're seeing. Don't go to the site that the people are telling you. Do your own independent research. If you can do independent research, find independent sites that confirm your stance. At that point, I feel like you'll say, okay, I looked at this many sites, and out of 10, if 8 of them are telling you what you want to hear, not 8 that someone told you to go to, you do your own grassroots. Back in the day when you had to go to the library, you had to do your own research, right? There was nothing that told you to go get this book, click here, click here, click here. So when you do that research, it gives you a different mindset of most of the stuff I looked at that was independent, not biased one way or another, points to this. So maybe there's something there that I need to explore more. If you can do that, I think you'll be fine and more people will be healthy. But most people don't want to do that. They click on one link, and that link has an algorithm behind it that feeds you what you think you want to see. So it gives you more of what you want to see rather than you saying, let me go do my own research.
Well, and that's algorithms in search engines and social media and things of that nature that give people what they want. It's funny, man, because in this information age, it's done two things. It's gotten people to be lazy because, they get used to instant gratification. Because, like you said, man, like when we did book reports when we was kids, we had to go to the library. We had to go check out at least 5 books, read the books, get the information from the books, and write a paper. Now you could just Google it in 2 seconds. You got all the information you need, right?
And that's before AI, right? Which AI is even faster, and it makes it even lazier, right?
Correct. So that's one thing. the second thing on that topic, man, social media and search engines, they're like the new drug dealer. You know, they giving you what you want, when you want it, how you want it, and they getting you addicted to the information that you're getting instead of giving you pure, unbiased facts and information.
Yeah.
You like right now, man. Like if I pull up my Instagram, for example, all I see is like funny things like people falling down, sports, and tennis shoes. That's all I see on my Instagram.
Right.
But that's what I engage with, and it's constantly giving me what I want to see. So I have to be self-conscious enough to be like, I don't need to go down this rabbit hole.
Correct.
Let me be productive.
Correct.
But that to my main point, that's the world we live in, and that's what it's doing to people. So as a result of that, you know, because even politics, you pull up your Instagram, you go see a whole lot of people give a whole lot of opinions that you automatically agree with, because Instagram knows what you engage in, and it's not just Instagram; it could be Twitter, whatever else you got on. But anyways, So I think that's part of the issue, where people are fed information based on how they feel and how they already think, and they think they're right, and it's hard to convince them otherwise.
And I think that's the part of having a good medical professional or any kind of professional, whatever field you're looking into. They're not going to tell you everything you want to hear. They're going to tell you what you need to hear. And that's what I think we try to do here at Byja Clinic. We really try to sit down and say, let's make sure we give you as much information. You make your decision, but let's give you the most accurate, up-to-date information you can do, receive, read, whatever. And it's evidence-based. It's not opinions. It's not just Dr. Jasper feels this is what it's. Let me hand you the information. And anything I'm telling you, if I'm wrong, tell me. We can definitely go ahead and update what I'm saying if I'm wrong. And we can also maneuver to a space that's good for you. And it's not all cookie cutter. It's not all algorithm-based where you are in this category, so I'm going to give you the same treatment I gave somebody else. Everybody's different. Everybody's medication regimen can be different. Their diet can be different. Their family history can be different, but at least we're independently giving you information and not telling you what you want to hear. If at least that happens, that can work. So when it comes to the vaccine thing, we're going to continue to do that. I'm going to continue to talk about them. I'm going to actually advocate for them. If you don't want to do it, that's fine. But if the answer is I don't want to do it because I don't want to talk about it, because I read and watched boom, 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 and then I'm like, send it to me. And you know what I usually get when I say send it to me? Nothing. I've yet to get an article. I've yet to get a actual paper that has been written by somebody who knows what they're talking about. Not a magazine article, not an opinion piece, something scientifically based. Never get one. But everybody can tell me why they shouldn't and why it's not good and all that. So it's amazing to me because it's the same thing that if you go stand in that, again, court of law and have to argue your legal case and you start talking about this magazine and all that, people are going to laugh in your face and say, you're still going to jail, right? Like, I understand you got a good magazine article. So I'm like, I'm glad that article helps you feel better about your opinion, but that's not changing your kidney numbers. That's not changing your liver numbers. That's not changing the fact that your sugar is through the, like, I understand how you feel, but your numbers don't lie. It ain't Dr. Jasper. This is your results.
Right.
This is your fever. This is your respiratory distress. It's not mine. So don't look at it as I'm trying to push something on you don't want. I'm trying to keep you healthy. And if you can realize for a second, maybe I'm actually on your team.
Yeah.
If we're on your team, we just don't get to the same destination because we got the same skill set, but we're going the same place. We're on the team together. How about we work on it?
Trust me, I don't want to give you this metformin, but your blood sugar is 15.
There you go. So A1Cs, to be specific, 15, they would be dead.
Oh, yeah. Well, you know what I mean. I'm glad you corrected me.
There you go.
You know what? I felt like it was blood sugar.
Yeah.
But the medical professional corrected me and said it was A1C.
As it should be, right? As opposed to, because again, if you were on social media, somebody would run and say, your sugar needs to be 15, and all of a sudden they're quoting you. People dropping like flies. All of a sudden.
No, and I never worked a day as a doctor.
You just play one on TV.
No, my degree is in business.
There you go.
Please do not take medical advice from me.
So all that being said, again, we'll close out segment 1, and we are going to come back and go into our second segment, trying something different in season 3. And as we come back, we will chop it up and literally talk about something that's relevant but slightly different. So stay tuned.
Hi, it's Patient Zero from the Byja Radio Show. Are you tired of the broken healthcare system? Frustrated by long waits, rushed visits, and sky-high costs? Yeah, I was too. So if you're tired of dealing with any of those things, then I highly suggest you check out the book Byja Blueprint, an introductory guide to direct primary care written by our own Dr. Byron Jasper. It breaks down all you need to know about direct primary care, a model that makes healthcare simple, affordable, and personal again. The book covers topics like how DPC differs from traditional insurance-based care, what's the difference between direct primary care and concierge medicine, how employers can use DPC to cut healthcare costs, how this model reduces burnout and improves work-life balance for physicians, and so much more. Whether you're a patient like me, a doctor fed up with burnout, or a business owner tired of rising healthcare costs, this book lays it all out in plain English. If you're ready for something better, check out Byja Blueprint, available in paperback, audio, and ebook format. Visit bookstoread.com/Byja Blueprint DPC and get your copy today.
So coming back in and jumping into our second segment after having a conversation about measles being an outbreak.
Yep.
I think, might be a little bit of a heavy topic. And with it being a heavy topic, naturally, it's probably good to move to something that helps remove heaviness.
Yeah.
You see what I did?
Yeah, I see.
I think you know where I'm going with this.
I think you want to go to a lighter topic.
There you go. There you go. So based on that topic idea to, move to something a little bit easier to digest.
Yeah.
We are going to talk about the class of medicines, GLP-1s, that most people are familiar with. Many people know about different names, but the class includes things like Ozempic, Mounjaro. There's Wegovy, there's Zepbound, there's Trulicity, there is Saxenda, there is Victoza, there is Byja. You get the idea. There are a lot of them. Most people only know maybe one or two. But what we're talking about is the news that happened that a lot of people may not be aware of. And hopefully you're listening to this and we're sharing some news to you. But one of the GLP-1s, specifically the one called tirzepatide, which is also known as Mounjaro or Zepbound, was basically removed off of the FDA shortage list. And with that FDA shortage list, what that means is that when a medicine goes on a shortage list, you can have it legally compounded by compounding pharmacies. So I got a email and a call from a lot of patients who potentially are saying they're on a compounded medication and they're wondering if they're now having to stop it because the pharmacy is saying they can't make it anymore. And of course, by that happening, people are pretty much freaking out. Why are they freaking out? Because if they can't get access to the medication through their insurance, or they can't get access to the medication through a retail pharmacy because it's too expensive, they're often going to these compound options because they're either a lot more affordable or it's easier to potentially come by because, again, you're not jumping through as many insurance restrictions, right? So based off of that, that was really interesting to me how quickly that changed. Now, this could stop in its tracks because the ruling that says that legally the pharmacies can no longer make this product by using the active ingredient of tirzepatide. Of course, they're going to legally try to block that so the compounding can continue because that's a money train, right? You don't want people to literally mess with your money, so they're going to try to stop it. But I bring that up because I think a lot of people don't realize how relevant this is.
Super relevant.
So, George, I'm going to ask you, do you have any idea about how many people in the country are possibly in the, for lack of a better term, obese category when it comes to just data that we're able to pull from different sources? Let's go percentage-wise on a scale of 0 to 100. What percentage would you say, for the most part in America, constitute an obese diagnosis?
So I'm looking at my notes, and my notes say 42%.
Yeah.
And what I would say is that has to be taken after these drugs had came out.
Yeah.
Because I'm pretty sure before these drugs came out, that was easily 60% of Americans.
Yeah.
You know, because there's a lot of husky people in these streets, bro. Like I'm telling you, man, I walk in the grocery store, and you know, as a husky person myself, I feel like I can say that. So, you know, I feel like, you know, 6 or 7 out of 10 Americans probably would have been considered obese. And the difference in my numbers versus the official number is probably some of these GLP-1 meds that you're talking about.
Yeah. So if that change happened, would you feel pretty confident to say that people who are on these have seen success with them? Do you feel pretty confident about that?
1,000%, man. Like I was just telling you earlier, man, there was a lady I saw today, and I barely recognized her. I'm like, man, you slim? You know, and I feel like that happens to me at least twice a week, where it's just somebody who I knew really well, and all of a sudden they just completely slim down. I know they're not going to the gym, so I'm just assuming that these meds are working.
Yeah, and I think you're right that a lot of people do find success with them. I think the interesting part about this whole shortage list change, I should say, the medicine being removed from the shortage list, is that now people are going to have to figure out how to maintain that success rate. And I think this is the issue a lot of people run into when they don't have a good plan in place. If you only have one iron in the fire, well, if that iron somehow breaks or something goes out, you need to have a way to keep the momentum going. And if you don't have something else to fall back on, you're going to have problems. So if you only are doing compounded tirzepatide, this ruling comes out, the compound pharmacy stops and says, we can't make this because we're going to lose our license. And at that point, we can't make any medicine, which means we can't make any money. You now have no option, or you have to figure out if you're going to somehow break the bank and go do more retail stuff. So with that being said, it begs the question, what do people do? Well, George, let me ask you, do you have an idea how much a retail version of this medication costs? So we're talking specifically about the Mounjaro Zepbound. Any idea as of today?
$1,000, $1,500.
Okay. So with that, how much would you say that is? How many days worth of medicine would you say that is?
I'd hope that'd be a couple months, but that's probably about 30 days.
Right. So you're spot on, right? So you got 30 days.
Jesus Christ.
And at 30 days, you're spending $1,500 a month on one medicine.
But that's insane. Okay. Think about this. I don't know how much the average person makes in a year, but that's almost as much as like your living expenses.
Yeah. And I think living expenses, not one expense, right? All of them, depending on who you are, where you are.
When I say living, I'm talking about like your mortgage.
Correct.
That's a mortgage. Well, that's more than a truck note.
Well, some people, depending on their situation, that could be several expenses, right?
Yeah.
If you're renting a smaller unit, it might actually be that plus your electricity, plus your car note and all this other stuff. So you're spending $1,500, you know, if you're on the lower end, maybe $1,000 a month on one medicine. I get it. Like, you really want to have that success and keep it going, but at some point the weight may come back, and all of a sudden we're not going to have sicker people.
Bruh.
And it's pretty sad, right? It's pretty sad that that's going to happen, all because of potentially things being extremely marked up.
That $50 a month gym membership is starting to look real good.
And how many people you think are going to do that?
Not as much as on this medicine.
Okay. And if you're hearing people having that idea of, look, what else can I do? Again, it's going to be hard for us to tell you, you can do this and do that, and it's going to magically work. What I think we should hopefully articulate to people is that you need to come up with getting into care, having a discussion with a good person who's going to guide you on how to hopefully maintain your weight loss with or without these medications, because medications can always change. Your body can change. Side effects can happen. Symptoms, other things can come in and affect you where you can't get access to medicine. So you want to have a comprehensive approach.
Facts.
Not just a silver bullet where you take one thing and it magically fixes everything. You have to be mindful of having a healthy diet, drinking plenty of water, exercising, getting plenty of rest. The list goes on and on. But if you do not do that, you're going to have more problems than a lot of people will potentially want. And I think the last thing I'll mention is, with the ideal use of the medication, not overusing it, not doing something off label. George, do you have an idea of what is the percentage of people that are losing weight over the course of, I'd say, 3 months? So at 3 months of using the medicine, how many people are potentially losing weight from a percentage standpoint, right? Now, I know why I'm going to preface it with this. Some people take this and don't lose any weight. Some people are spending money and not losing any weight. So how many people?
I would be hot as fish grease if I'm spending $1,000 a month on weight loss drugs and I didn't lose any weight.
Mm-hmm. Now, why would you be? And I'm gonna come back with a follow-up question, but why would you be hot as fish grease, as you said?
Bro, that's a lot of money. And the thing about it is, it's so expensive to where, and I don't know, maybe I'm just messed up in my way of thinking, right? But if I'm spending that much money on something that's helping me lose weight, I feel like I shouldn't have to change my habits or change anything, and I should just automatically lose weight. Now, if the meds was like $50 a month, $100 a month, I might feel like, okay, maybe I need to do something extra to kind of, maybe it's just like a booster shot, right? Maybe it's just something to kind of help me get to my goals, right? Or help me be healthier. But 4 figures, bro, I want to do everything. I want to be able to eat wings with every meal and French fries and drink cold drink with every meal and drink, you know what I mean? Like, I want to be able to do whatever I feel like doing and lose weight because I'm spending $1,000 on weight loss drugs.
Well, and I think that's the second part. My second question is, if you're saying I wouldn't say upset, because hot as fish grease is more than upset to me.
I'd be pissed.
You'd be
like this. I'm mad, bro.
Yeah, I get it.
Like, so, I'm like the Saints lost mad. Like, that's how mad I am.
And I think that's the thing. So people get surprised and frustrated, upset, bothered, whatever, right? And all of those things happen, but you just said what I think a lot of people don't realize. They're doing it to themselves. They just literally will eat everything and anything that they want and wonder why it's not working, and they're just throwing money away. And it's no different than you're going to the gym, you're literally working out, and you're wondering why your numbers are still bad. You can't outdo bad habits. You can't out-medicate bad habits. So if you're taking $1,500 medication, but you're not losing much weight, and you're wondering why it doesn't work, or my favorite, the opposite, you take a medicine, and the medicine, quote unquote, has on the label that it's going to make you gain weight. And your thing is, well, it made me gain 50 pounds. Really? You gonna sit here and tell me that pill put 50 pounds on you? It wasn't them wings. It wasn't your all-you-can-eat buffets. It had to be the medicine.
So that Waffle House, in Blue Stew.
Exactly.
That's what that was.
And that's the part that it's the medicine supposed to be, again, the silver bullet, but no one acts to actually look in the mirror. So they'll spend $1,500, $1,000, $1,200.
Devil's advocate.
Go ahead.
In a 7-minute visit, you think we will talk about like medicine and your diet?
I know we are not going to talk about it. This is my point. It don't matter if we talk about it or not. People don't like being accountable. We had a whole episode of this. They will literally come in and get mad that the medicine isn't working. And I usually have to say, well, did you work?
But think about it. We just spent like 30 minutes talking about how people don't listen to the doctor.
Yeah.
And then you only have 7 minutes to talk to them.
Yeah.
So you really think that is getting driven home that you got to go to the gym with this $1,000 medicine?
I think the part that's funny to me is if I only have 7 minutes to talk to somebody who really and truthfully I value their opinion, I might want to listen to what they told me in those 7 minutes. But most people are the opposite. They will show up.
I'd say you're the minority on that one. I really believe most people go to the doctor not because they want to listen to what the doctor has to say. The doctor has the power of the pad. They can write the prescription. And they want to go and tell the doctor what prescription they want. Just like going to McDonald's. They say, look, I want this quarter pounder with no cheese and no onions. They want to go to the doctor. They say, look, I want this antibiotic, no steroid shot. Mm-hmm. And I'd like it today, please.
Yeah, absolutely. And it happens all the time. I hear it all the time where people call and I get text messages, regular text messages from patients and people outside, and they want us to write them a prescription, but have no idea who, what, when, where, of who are we talking to, right? I've had people ask me to write prescriptions for their friends. They're not even patients of mine. Well, my such and such isn't feeling well. Can you do this? And when I literally either ignore them or respond to them with the response that they should get, they look at me like I'm somehow wrong. But if that person has a bad reaction and something happens, they're not going to say, well, we did ask him to do us a favor, so it ain't really his fault.
No, we go sue.
They go sue, right? Yeah. And all of a sudden, I'm in a malpractice suit for trying to help somebody out. So, no, you don't get prescriptions for me. I never did that. And I was very clear in, you know how much this license costs that I'm actually toting around? Do you know how much I had to spend to get it? You know how long it took me to get? And in one prescription, it can all be taken away.
And look, patient zero don't get everything he want either.
Nope.
I'm about to say, if I'm not getting it, you definitely not getting it.
My own parents don't get what they want if they call me and ask me, and it don't make any sense whatsoever.
Okay.
Because at this point, you're going to sit here and tell me that, hey, I really want you to prescribe something, and I have no medical background. I have no understanding of who you are. You haven't had any lab work. And more importantly, I'm not physically seeing you.
I don't know, bro. You need to do him as barber takes you too. Good look.
That's the original Dr.
Look, I got first stat for you one time.
That's just what she does.
Yeah, bro. So I need you to take care of Miss Barber, dog.
So we bring this in to say, number one, it's going to happen where people are going to people. They're going to do exactly what they want to do and want you to fix it when they break it. That's fine. That's part of what the job is that we do. But if you're spending $1,500 and the number that we did not get to, that I asked George and we didn't answer, so let me go ahead and make sure I give the answer. I said, do you have an idea of how many people are successfully losing weight after about 90 days with these medicines?
It's a lot of people, though.
Well, I think it's a lot of people that you can see are losing. I said a lot of weight, right? A lot of weight. Now, that's relative.
There's a lot of former fat people that's walking around that's skinny, bro.
That's true.
I see them.
But what I'm saying is, in the grand scheme of things, how many people are losing significant weight with these medicines that are going to literally see a significant change? A lot of people have a drop, but then it comes right back. And I'm going to say the number is 15 to 22%.
There's no way.
15 to 22%.
Bro, there is no way.
Okay.
So you mean to tell me all these skinny people I see walking around here that lost all this weight, so there's about 6 to 7 times of them that's spending $1,000 on medicine, and most of the people are not losing weight?
They are losing, but it comes back. And my point is, you will lose a significant amount, and then when you start doing those bad habits, you're eating what you want, you're not maintaining, you're not having a very strict diet, it's going to come back. It's not, oh, well, the shortage happened, and with the shortage happened, I lost it. Because I lost my medicine, I gained up. You were going to gain it back anyway.
Because you eat wings for breakfast.
Because you are literally eating Skittles for dessert, breakfast, and a snack in between. That's not how this works. You don't need Dr. Jasper to tell you this. You need to tell yourself this. I need to do better. And if you can say that to yourself and follow suit, we'll be fine.
Yeah.
But don't get mad whenever I come and I say, I can't do anything for you. I can't write this prescription that you magically want me to write that's going to magically fix all your problems when you don't want to fix them yourself. You have to look in the mirror and do these things. So when I get the call about there's a shortage and the shortage is going away and what am I going to do? You could get up and walk. You could drink more water. You could work out. But it's not like I haven't told you that already.
Or you could have given up candy for Lent.
There you go.
Like patient zero.
There you go. I mean, it's easy for people to do certain things. It's just they don't want to.
No, because it's hard to eat healthy. You know what I mean? It's difficult to eat healthy because number one, you got to cook more. You know, you got to cook more. You got to spend good money for good things. You got to take your time and do it right, or you could just get you a quarter pounder. It's just easier and cheaper to eat trash.
Yeah. And if you're losing 15 to 20% of your body weight, which sounds great, you're losing 15 to 20%. It's unfortunate that only 15 to 20% of people are going to keep it off.
Bro, that's crazy.
So if the medicine goes away tomorrow, which there's a good potential it can, all medicines, what are you doing to maintain the healthy habits while you have the medicine? If you are doing it, you're going to be fine. If you are not taking that, we have fast-tracked you in the weight loss game to say, now that the weight is off, what am I doing to maintain it? You're going to have a problem. And I think that's a problem most people don't want to admit. So yeah, you go see these skinny people. But my question is, you said you saw a lady, she had lost a lot of weight, and you didn't recognize her. What was she doing whenever you saw her?
Well, we was at the church getting fish plates. It's Lent, bro. You gotta get that catfish plate.
What kind of fish?
It's fried catfish, bro. It's for the church, man. You gotta do that. You gotta during Lent.
Would you say that just made my point? Do you feel pretty confident to say that my point was made?
Well, I didn't say how many plates she got, but
it wasn't grilled. It wasn't baked.
I'm not mad at her for having that one Friday fish plate. Now, if she eating fried fish every day,
you gonna tell me you think she's eating grilled shrimp with a salad every day? You gonna tell me that?
She might be. I don't know.
No. I'm asking in your gut.
No.
That's my point. So I have really and truthfully seen this with my own eyes, where patients will be on a medicine that helps them with their appetite, and they're still eating badly, and then look at me when I say, well, yeah, you lost a lot of weight, but your cholesterol is even worse. You lost a lot of weight, but your A1C is higher. And they look at me. That's the point that kills people.
How does that happen?
And it just makes me say, I don't understand why you don't think, hey, I'm on this medicine, maybe I need to chill out. Right? I had a guy come in my exam room today, as we're recording this episode, today, is on this medicine that we're talking about, not the compounded, but on the legit regular medicine. And his pressure is high. And you know what his response to me? Well, it's a lot better than what it was. And I'm like, I mean, sure, but it's still killing your kidneys, right? Because it's still out of control. And in his mind, it was almost like, well, it's not going to put me in the hospital. It's like, so you want to wait till you're on dialysis?
I mean, it could put you in the coffin.
It could. And that's the thing. So if you don't fix the bad habits, you're going to have the same problems. It may just come a lot later, and maybe that's what you want. You say, look, I don't want to check out at 70. I want it at 72. Maybe. But to me, don't make much sense.
Nah, I want to make 110.
Well, and that's the point. And I'll add this. I went to my doctor yesterday. As I went to my doctor, yes, everybody, for some reason, you're like the fourth person when I say my doctor. People literally start to make
like who the hell is your doctor? Who do you go to?
Multiple doctors. And I have multiple doctors because I know the value of going to the doctor before something happens. So I went to my doctor for my check, and they said to me, and I kid you not, they were like, so you're actually really healthy. And I was like, I hope so, because I got to practice what I preach.
Bro, I'm about to say, bro, if your doctor told two things. Number one, if your doctor told you that you weren't healthy, I'd cancel my membership that day. I would be like, bro, I'm out. He can't help me. He not even healthy himself.
Not even healthy himself, right?
That number one. Number two, like, what do you even talk about with your doctor? Like, are you like, well, look, I looked at my numbers. This is what I think. What do you think? And are you like, nah, that's not right.
That's not right. Like, that's not right.
But why would you waste money on a doctor when you could just, like, what are you doing?
Because for the same thing we just talked about, I'm going to tell you the same thing that I tell everybody else. Why would I somehow think that I'm smarter than other people who know more than me in certain fields? If I'm going to a specialist, like an eye doctor.
Well, that's different.
No, but it's the same concept, though. The concept is not necessarily the type of doctor. It's I would rather have someone who's smarter and objective than me looking at it and think I know more. Because I may not want to be honest with myself. Because we just had a whole talk about how people aren't honest with themselves.
So, okay, cool. So, all right. You might have like an eye doctor, a dentist, cardiologist. You probably go see Dr. Chris, for your back and all this good stuff.
Shout out to Dr. Chris.
Yeah, I'm going tomorrow. My neck is killing me, dude. I'm like, he just texted me. I'm going tomorrow.
There you go.
But anyway. But what I'm saying to you is this: who is your PCP and why? Like you're a doctor of internal medicine. You do your own thing. Why would you need to talk to somebody else to hear what you already know?
Mm-hmm. First correction: family medicine, slightly different.
Sorry, family medicine.
Internal medicine is adults only. Family med, we see adults, kids, and geriatrics.
So why why is family medicine everybody and internal medicine adults only? Because like kids don't have insides. like who sits there and makes this up?
Yeah, I don't know.
But anyway, I appreciate the correction.
Yeah,
it's weird.
Yeah,
but thank you. But I'm just saying, like if you. If you could look at your charts and you know everything, like for example, just pretend they're my numbers, and what would you tell me?
And that's the thing. But when I am seeing numbers that aren't necessarily things that I like or understand, yeah, I could probably go and look it up. But then what you tend to do is either you self-medicate, and that's slippery slope, right? And I give you a case in point. What if my own doctor, hurt my back, and now I'm in pain?
Well, you go to the chiropractor.
You could, but what tends to happen, because I know everything, a lot of people, I'm going to prescribe myself pain medicine.
Well,
and now I'm in a slippery slope, because if I keep hurting, I keep prescribing, and then I don't go and get evaluated until it's too late. So how about I don't even open Pandora's box and start that and get somebody to give me their honest, unbiased opinion that allows me to be a patient and receive care. That's like, again, I'll give you another example. You're a psychiatrist. You know everything about psychiatry. You going through depression. So let's just go ahead and treat yourself. Sounds good until it don't work, and then what happens?
Might need a second opinion.
No. What ends up happening is most people get so depressed that they end up having suicidal thoughts. And that's another problem. The problem is a lot of doctors and a lot of professionals don't want to be the opposite. You don't want to be the person who's the client. And I get it. That's okay. That's your choice. For Dr. Jasper, this one at least, I'm going to sit down and say, I'm okay having someone take care of me. You know why? Because that's actually a good thing. Because at that point, I can actually take off all the stress, the worry and all that, and let somebody else do it for a change. Because I have to do that for patient 0 and all the other patients. Why do I need to do it for myself? Other than I can. Other than I can do it. Why do I need to?
But you pay them people.
Exactly.
You can.
And I pay them for a reason. So I can literally give them the burden of caring for me and not me stressing myself out. Because you got to know yourself. And what Dr. Jasper knows, especially the healthy one. And I say the healthy one because what I know, the healthy Dr. Jasper,
bro, why?
The healthy Dr. Jasper will easily say, compared to the sick Dr. Jasper, and what I mean is talking about myself, if I'm healthy, I'm going to say, you know what? How do I stay that?
I thought my friend just called some unnecessary shade.
No. See, you mess it. Let's stop.
I was like, bro, you wild for that one.
The healthier Dr. Jasper, me, saying to myself, how about I go to someone to stay this way because I've been doing well doing it this way, versus I get sick and I'm going to try to medically treat myself and get better. It could go really well or it can go really bad. I still
have so many questions. I'm going to ask these questions off air.
That's fine. And I think that's appropriate, but I'm hoping people, if they're listening at this point, they realize enough to hear me say, it's okay to get help when you need it, and you don't have to fix yourself all the time. You have to be honest with yourself. A lot of people want to self-medicate, self-treat, self-diagnose, and they end up having self-deprivation. And that's the problem. And that's the issue a lot of people have, especially who don't get medical care. I had a conversation with the patient today. He said, man, I don't want my kidneys to get bad because my barber is on dialysis and he didn't actually go and get help until it was too late. And you know why? Because I had to probably take a guess that the person who ends up in certain situations could have gotten help, but they didn't. Now, some people don't have a choice because they don't have the care, they don't have access, they don't have direct primary care, they don't have funds.
Yeah.
But if you're telling me you have access to top tier medical professionals, why are you going to literally put it all on yourself? This ain't construction.
Because you got a top tier medical professional in the mirror.
I am. But this ain't construction. This ain't something that is, and I quote, a recipe. You want somebody who's going to potentially do the things, in my opinion. And again, other people are different. But in my opinion, I don't want that stress on me trying to care for me because I know how I am with other people. I'm going to take it so seriously that I can overdo it. But if I have somebody else coming in and saying, you're fine, I think you're good, I'm going to watch your numbers. I'm going to make sure your pressure is good. I'm going to make sure you're getting these things done. At that point, they give me the marching orders. I go out, I execute. That dynamic is okay for me, and it's okay for me because I'm healthy. My numbers are great. But other people who are self-medicating, self-treating, self-diagnosing, how they doing? If they perfect, let them keep doing it. If not, I get a sense that you can say, you need to try something else. And for me, what I'm doing is working. So I can't sit here and tell other people, you need to go listen to the doctor. And then they say, well, do you go to the doctor? Nope, because I am a doctor. Like, that don't make sense. That's how I feel.
It kind of does, though, because you are a doctor.
So do you think that in the medical field, legal field, these two are kind of parallel? They think that all people should take care of themselves or represent themselves.
Not all people. I think so. For me, I would expect you to have specialists. Like I would expect you to have, like let's say if you had like a heart issue, mm-hmm. or like I would expect you to have a chiropractor. Mm-hmm. I obviously expect you to have an eye doctor, a mm-hmm. dentist, and things like that. Like I fully expected that.
Should a dentist have a dentist?
Well, I mean, it kind of be hard to get in your own mouth. But other than that,
should an eye doctor have an eye doctor? Should a surgeon have a surgeon?
But that's different though. You can't operate on yourself
to an extent. But my point is, do you want to wait until it's that bad that you need someone to operate on you, or do you want to say, let me go to somebody to make sure I'm doing it the right way?
But why would you have a surgeon if you didn't need operation?
That's the point. Some people don't realize that you may be going in that direction, so you need to get it early. I could go on that topic for a while, but what I'm going to say is I have people who have horrible back pain, and they're waiting to go to the surgeon when they think they need surgery. And I'm like, if we would have went 3, 4, 5 years ago, you may have never needed surgery.
But that's not what I'm saying. Like, as a doctor, you experience something because you're a doctor. You know where you need to go. Like you might give yourself a test. If you give yourself a full lipid panel right now, you know what those numbers mean, absolutely. And you know exactly what you need to do. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah,
you're
absolutely right.
That's all I'm saying. Because when I have a lipid panel and you look at these numbers, you're like, hey man, hey, cut back on the alcohol, cut back on the wings. I'm like, all right, cool. You know what I mean? But like, I have all that confidence in the world in you like that. Mm-hmm. So it's like you read your own charts and it's like, all right, well, I need to do this, I need to do that. Or it can inspire you to say, oh man, look, maybe I need to go see this specialist or that specialist, which they do something different than what you do, and that makes perfect sense.
Right.
But like when you told me you had a primary care physician, I'm just like,
impressive, right?
No, it's like, why? It's not impressive. The first thing I thought of is that's a bill you don't need. Because like if I was a primary care physician, like me and you could compare notes, but I wouldn't be in the clinic because I know this, because I know my stuff.
Well, I will say to slowly but surely close out season 1. I mean, that's episode 1, season 3. This is where we're going to agree to disagree.
All right, that's fine.
Because there's no way in the world I would say if a person comes to me and they're my treating doctor and I learn that they're treating themselves, I'm going to keep seeing them. That's just me. Because at the end of the day, I feel that if you feel that strongly that you need to treat yourself all the way at all times, even when you're possibly not doing well, you're going to make a mistake at some point. And when you make a mistake and now you're making a mistake on yourself, how are you not going to, in essence, have the wherewithal to say, I made a mistake on this person, I need to possibly step back?
I mean, I respect it. Like I said, like you say, we would agree to disagree, because I feel like, hell, if you would treat me like you treat yourself, I'm in a good boat. I'm straight.
Well, I appreciate that. So, all things considered, I think we have went over this topic enough to say, if you didn't take anything from it, remember, you need to possibly take care of yourself. Whether you're doing it yourself or you're going to a professional, that part can be up for debate, but at least you're getting care. And getting care in a way that it's authentic, it's helping you get to a better space, and you're not just basically DIYing it and not actually engaging in meaningful care. And you're also seeing a medical professional in some way.
And if you're relying on GLP-1 drugs, and you want to make a goodwill donation run, hold off on that, because you might need to close again if you're not changing your lifestyle.
So basically, you think that the 15-20% makes sense at this point?
I'm saying I don't argue with data.
Because fish plates.
Look, I'm not one of these people that's going to argue you with data. So if you say only 15-20% is making impactful weight loss, then sustainable weight loss.
That's the word we're looking for.
That's cool.
All right.
Sustainable, if only 15-20%, that means there's 80-85% of people that's going to blow up again. And I just want you to hold off on the donation box,
Yep.
Keep them close.
Hold on. There you go. All right, people. So if you're in the saddle with us this long, that means you're a real one. We appreciate you.
Yep.
We are back for season 3. We have more stuff in store, so please make sure you check us out. George Becnel II, where can the people find you?
Oh, they can find me at George_Becnel on X. I might need to rethink that platform because Elon is wilding. But you can also find me at Becnel Media on Instagram, and George Becnel II, MBA on LinkedIn. That's where you can find me.
There you go. And as far as our platforms, you can find us on our website, of course, www.byja.org, byja.org. You can find our charitable alliance, our nonprofit organization, at byjaca.org. And you can find us on Instagram and Facebook at Byja Clinic, all one word, and then on LinkedIn at Byja Clinic. So we will close out today. We appreciate y'all for listening and, of course, taking this journey with us. We got more stuff in store for you, so we'll see you all on the next episode.